Left, nothing. Right, nothing. Or is it? Yes, no, it is doing something. 14 is lighting up. Left does nothing, though. Right is 14 is lighting up. I'm pushing left on the Dreamcast controller, the digital directional pad, down on the digital directional pad. I'm moving the analog around. The analog right now I have in the upper left corner, but it won't get past the center. It's going from the bottom right as default to the center. So this thing is not working right. All of these controllers, which I have plugged in simultaneously, are acting as if they were all the same controller. It's almost as if you can give another human, imagine 3 people can hold each of these controllers, and let me get the other controller in the picture here, and they'd all be controlling the same character. So no, this is not functioning correctly. And just to clarify and to make it very explicit, simply because this allows 3 controllers does not mean that you can use 3 players at the same time with each one using a different controller. No, you must pick one and not the others. So let me unplug 2 of them and see what happened. I haven't pushed any buttons on any controllers, and look, the axis button is centered, nothing is depressed, and it's actually the Sega Saturn controller that I have up, and I'm pushing up on it, down, left, right, and everything is fine. So now let me unplug that Saturn controller, plug in just the Dreamcast controller, and again, everything is back to normal. The axis button is in the center. I push up on the pad and it goes to 13, down goes to 15, left, 16, right, 14. The analog moves around in the axis menu, and it's really jittery. So something got screwed up maybe with the calibration. But let me see here. I'm going to unplug this from my PC. Plug it back in. Get out of this error menu here. Go back to the controller. And see now if the... And no, the analog is definitely screwed up. So I probably screwed it up when I was messing around with this. But I could always go to settings and go to calibrate, and I'll actually do it just to see if it'll work. Here, I'll show you what calibrate does if you're interested. You definitely want to use the Nintendo 64 controller, this function. So I click next with the mouse. Hopefully you can see this here. It says here, leave the center handle and push a button on the controller. You just push any button on the controller. And that's with the analog specifically. Move the handle in a complete circle. Then push the button on the controller. Leave the handle centered, push a button on the controller, okay. Move the Z-axis all the way up. It's not even responding. Not responding at all. Very strange why that didn't work. I don't know what to say about that. This is really acting weird. I don't think I broke it, but it's not acting right. But there's probably a way to calibrate it here. I've never had it calibrate like that. Maybe I'll make a video later about that. I don't know. But it's not working smooth now, this controller. For whatever reason. Let me zoom out here. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not that concerned because I hate the Dreamcast controller, but there's probably a way to fix that. Be using that calibrate. Anyhow, this ends the review of the PC Magic Box in full now. I've shown the functionality of Saturn, PlayStation 2, and Dreamcast. Actually, there's one more Dreamcast controller. I shouldn't say it ends it. Let me go to that one. I have a third-party controller for Dreamcast, which I'm going to showcase. Next. And that is this. Another controller by Interact, who likes to make third-party adapters for Sega. And if you thought that last Saturn controller looked kind of cheap, well, this looks even cheaper. I don't know if it feels cheaper, but this analog pad definitely feels worse. The grip actually feels better. The lineup of these buttons is definitely better. I mean, look at this, like an arcade controller here. You know, like the Saturn pad. Very nice, actually. The start button, I don't know. It's close. It's not as far away. auto and program it has, so that seems cool. I don't know if you need to use one of these memory cards to access its ability to do auto or program. I don't think you do, but I don't know. Probably not. I'm guessing because Sega made those devices and Sega didn't make this controller, so it's probably something. You can see I never even took the sticker off. I bought this for 99 cents at a thrift store. Never tried it. I just bought it because it was cheap. I wanted to collect the controller, but it's really not a good controller. Or it doesn't look like one anyhow. I never used it. Let me see what happens when I plug it in. See if it works. See, these buttons are going nuts here. See if we could shut them off. Nope, they're just going nuts. And everything is depressed here, see? Let me sit down. So all these buttons, 1 through 9, are all depressed at the same time. The Axes button is locked in the lower right corner. I only have one controller right now plugged in. Let me zoom out. And that's this. And it looks like this is non-functional. Yeah, this is pretty much, I think, non-functional. I think these designers who made these USB controllers, USB adapters, a lot of times only designed it for the first-party controller. And as these third-party systems and their accessories got much more complex, such as this... I spoke too soon. Now this thing seems to be working. The auto and program buttons have calmed down. They're not blinking anymore. And let me take this rubber band off. And let me use it. Try this thing out. Up is mapping to 13. Down, left, right. Okay. ABC works, X, Y, and Z, or whatever they're called here. They're called X, Y, and Z actually. X, Y, and Z all work. Start works. And the analog works. The analog works perfectly now. Look at that. Well, not perfect. A little jittery, but not much. It's pretty good. It's right there. So that looks good. Let me see if this auto will work. Let's hope this doesn't screw everything up. It's not screwing anything up here. I'm pushing it, but it's not doing anything. It's not lighting up. So this advanced functionality on this controller, this auto, doesn't seem to work. So it's interesting that the other Interact controller, that one for the Sega Saturn that I like so much, does work. This auto button does work, or function button works, the auto fire, but these don't work. L&R bumpers both work. So this controller seems to work. Maybe I'll give it just a general overview of this thing. The pad seems actually good. Seems responsive. Doesn't seem bad at all. This seems a little, maybe loose, but it doesn't seem bad. These buttons actually aren't bad. To be honest, I don't think this controller actually does seem actually not bad, honestly. Maybe at first I was being a bit overly negative about this thing. These buttons seem too hard to push in, almost like that original Xbox One controller with those really hard L&R buttons. I mean, I could imagine my fingers really getting sore from hitting these. What can I say? It's a Dreamcast controller. It's supposed to look like the original Dreamcast controller, the first party one. That the third party one is a